A lot has been talked about inclusion since the morning, financial inclusion, social inclusion, and microfinance also. Mr. Saha from the policy framework purview, and Mr. Ghosh as the director of one of the largest MFIs in the country. They have also shared the microfinance landscape. I would very briefly share with you my experience with working as a microfinance institute in Bihar. Saija Finance today is the only NBFC MFI working out of Bihar. It is headquartered in Patna. And it also talks about a lot in terms of the challenges which an MFI in Bihar has to face. Because in spite of the fact that, as has been talked about by all the panelists here, in terms of the requirements of financial and social inclusion, but it is very ironical that Saija happens to be the only NBFC which is headquartered and working out of Bihar. Now we have Bandhan, we have Ujjivan, they are national level players, and they would have a large number of clients serviced in out of Bihar, but still that would form a very small percentage of the total outreach. Saija started in 2007. We started as a society, but once we realized that we have to grow in outreach, we quickly converted ourselves into NBFC. So we came to Bihar with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of zeal and a lot of eagerness and sincerity towards serving the poor and the underprivileged in the state. Before we started off this operation, we surveyed the market, we reached out to the people, and wherever we went, we saw a sea of humanity where there was a requirement. Now when I meet my clients, when I talk to my customers, we cannot distinguish between financial and social inclusion. The segment of population we cater to, and when we go and meet them, we realize that's not only credit which they require for the small business which they are running, but it is also health interventions, which Mr. Amarjit mentioned earlier, interventions in terms of education. So it's a very holistic intervention which is required by them. Now in terms of Bihar, if you see, it is almost, I would say, 70% of the population which could qualify as microfinance clients. We may not be able to cater to the entire 70% today, because microfinance by itself is only catering to a population which to some extent I would say is self-sustaining. It is not actually reaching out to the ultra poor. So our clients typically would be small-time grocery shop owners or small-time vegetable vendors, fruit vendors, who have no access to finance apart from money lenders. So microfinance institutes in that sense, you would say, is like an ambulance which would take the patient to the hospital. So before they become bankable, before the banks, they go and approach the banks, we actually take them to that particular level. Sorry. So my experience which I was sharing is, initially when we started off, we thought that the way to reach out to the people is to create a quality organization which is very high on consumer protection, which has good systems and policies, which is quality focused. And to that extent, we were quite successful in our approach. So it was when we started off in 2007, in 2008, there were a lot of investors' interest which was shown because they were looking at Bihar, they were wanting to serve the poor, but they were not finding the right vehicle to go forward with. So we had Axion as a first equity partner, and they not only invested with us, did not only put in equity, but they also gave us technical support, which helped us in building a strong system and processes. And since Axion is a leading global microfinance entity which is operating in more than 31 countries. So they brought in a lot of expertise also, and they were also very high on consumer protection. So this whole, after this Andhra crisis and after the RBI regulations, when there is a lot of talk going on about consumer protections, we as an organization were very aware of the consumer protection principles since the very beginning. And that is why we had very almost negligible repayment problems. In terms of creditworthiness, when we moved to Bihar, we were actually warned that you have to be very careful, your money may go bad, the law and order, the environmental situations is very poor. But let me share with you that we've had excellent credit record with our clients. And when we came to Bihar, it was practically even the national level players which are here today, they were not daring to come to Bihar because 2007 still was, I would not say a very smooth a time for Bihar. Of course, today we have almost 14 national level players in the state, but that point of time we were the only ones. But still, what we personally felt was that the creditworthiness is very high, and like someone mentioned before, that unlike what most people think, the creditworthiness among the poor is much higher than it is among the ones who are better off. So in terms of creditworthiness, in terms of their willingness to get into other financial products, because when we met them, they were very keen to get into microinsurance, to micropensions, to health interventions, to other livelihood interventions. To that extent, I would say our journey has been very satisfying. But unfortunately for us, what happened was that it was just, maybe 1 year, 2 years down the line that were hit by the Andhra crisis. And in the initial stages itself, we found the banks and the other lenders being very wary of financing in Bihar. So they would say, okay, you are doing a good job, but let us watch you for some more time. Are you actually what you are, what you're showing to be? So, there was a lot of, suspicion is not the right word, but from the bankers' perspective, there were strong doubts which were coming forward. And then we had this Andhra crisis. At that point of time, we really started, re-questioning whether we did the right thing coming to Bihar, whether we did the right thing starting off with microfinance. And during this whole process of introspection, what we realized that no, since we are actually committed to a very noble cause, and since we are in the right kind of business, and since we are having a organization which is built into sound principles, since we are high on consumer protection, we would go by it and continue with it. So it was even during this bad phase, we got support from Pragati India Fund, which is again CDC and IFC supported investor company. And they have put in equity in the organization. Organization today is on a very sound footing. We have a total membership base of about 36,000 customers. Total disbursement we've made is about 50 crores till date. We have a very sound business plan. In the next 5 years, we are planning to cover as many as 3 lakhs clients. But the major challenges which we face, and thankfully, because of these RBI regulations, the MFI structure has become more streamlined. But what is important is the major challenge which we are facing is in terms of the support from the financial institutions, the support from the commercial banks. And irrespective of however good we are, if that is not forthcoming, I think in the state that is going to be one of the major roadblocks. What is to be understood is that if there are MFIs which are serving a purpose in the organization, in the state context, it would be a great pull effect in terms of attracting other NBFC MFIs who are willing to start the shop in the state and willing to support this activity. Second, of course, the challenge which we face, which Mr. Ghosh had also mentioned earlier, was in terms of the infrastructural support, mainly the power-related issues. A third major challenge which we face is in terms of quality manpower. Initially, this was a very great challenge which we had, but over a period of time, with the improved environment in the state, we find there are a lot of quality people, quality manpower outside Bihar. Biharis are wanting to come back to the state. But as we go in the expansion mode, this could be one of the important challenges which we might face. But before I end, I think I've already got a note from Mr. Prashad. I'm very bullish about microfinance institutes, and they are doing a very great job in the sector in a very limited way. Of course, the challenges before the state is really huge, and but we are doing our job very well, and we are definitely being very relevant in terms of the financial inclusion agenda of the state. Thank you.